Howdy, y'all. Caleb here, and I'm still fresh off that GT weekend from last week. Went down to Hammerfest in Houston for the Warzone Houston tournament. Got in a bunch of good games, saw a bunch of good people, and we had some good Seraphon players there. So I kind of wanted to run through what some of those Seraphon lists were, how they did, what they faced, what battle plans we looked at, and maybe it'll give you some list ideas. If nothing else, let's give some shout out to those Seraphim players down here in Texas that were representing. So in the final standings here, that's what we have up here on screen, and this includes your battle points. Everything is categorized by wins and losses first, and then your battle points, paint, and sports. I think came next, maybe. And so um, the winner of the tournament was Gavin, and he was playing Daughters of Cain. We see a couple Daughters of Cain pop up here in the top of the list. Very good army right now, especially with Marathi and Bowsnakes. They do have a lot of board control, but also damage output, some crazy damage output. So very good army at this moment. Some Soul Black Gravelord snuck into the top five. That's pretty cool. Sons of Behemat, which is a strong list. I think Chris's list here was just 4 megas. And so that's pretty nasty to face across the board from you. We got some Slaves of Darkness, some Disciples of Zinch. So we got a little bit of variety there at the top. Some Maw Tries Jacob here from in Dallas, and I played him about 2 weekends ago. Had a good game with him. And we're getting down here to some of our Seraphon. We have Andrew and Elijah both ended up at 4-1. So they got 9th and 10th place here, playing Seraphon lists. And we skip down to Patrick Leclerc at 15, was also playing Seraphon, and we'll take a look at his list in a moment too. And I'm rolling in at 25. So I think around about 10, maybe 11 on down, that's about your 3-2 win teams. And that goes for maybe, probably about 30 players or so. We had, I think it was 80 players at this tournament, so real good turnout. Going down further, let's see, do we have any Seraphon? And nothing here. I think we had a few more that popped up down lower. And our Spencer Miller coming in at 62 was playing Seraphon, and Ben Riddle was playing the Koatl's Claw list at 65. So we had some good Seraphon armies there. I think that's a total of 6 of them. Not too shabby. And we'll take a look at how their list looked and what they faced. I'm going to keep the battle plans over here on the right-hand side so we can kind of see it goes just from game 1 down to game 5. And you'll notice we start on some battle plans that have just 3 objectives each. And we slowly increase that. We get 4, we get 5, and then we end up at 6. So, the tournament gets a little bit tougher as it progresses, as you got to have a little bit more board control. You got to have more units. You got to be able to work that board to hold those objectives. So that comes into play, especially for my lists. Those Thunder lists, I think Thunderlizard lists end up needing to work a little bit harder in those final games to kind of control the board. Well, let's look at our best performing list. That's Andrew, and he is taking a Thunderlizard list. He did come in top 10 here with 4-1 on the tournament, and he's playing Thunderlizards strategy, Beastmaster. I think that's pretty standard, where you're just trying to keep at least one beast alive. Your Triumph is inspired to help you reroll those wounds once per battle. Got a Skink Priest with heal, a Slan Starmaster with Fusel of Conflagration. So he's probably got his artifact on something else. Yep, he's got a Amulet of Destiny, all because he's getting in the command entourage Magnificent, so he's able to take an extra command point. So that's nice. Skink Star Priest with Hand of Glory, so we can get those rerolls. And that Skink Priest and Star Priest are going to be buffing all your units, especially this Stegodon with Skink Chief as your general with Prime War Beast. Oh yeah! So I bet you Andrew used that Stegodon with Skink Chief to kill some stuff that game, because that guy can he can do some damage. Units, we've got some Kroxigor. You know what? I've seen the last couple tournaments I've been to, I've seen Kroxigor popping up on the tables with Seraphon. It may be that it kind of answers that horde question that we have. What can we deal with hordes? And Kroxigor are a cheap answer to that. 150 points for 3 models that can actually just go up and wallop a horde. So that's pretty nice. Some salamanders, of course, those are always nice. We've got some knights, guard, and another unit of knights. So there you got your knights as your screens, your objective grabbers, and your guard to help you hold the Slann alive for a little bit longer. And then 2 Bastillodons. Oh yeah, that's nice. And those are going in. One of them is going in the battle regiment. And so the drops aren't too bad because he's got the battle regiment there, but still a little high. Pi ended up not getting priority too many times. But I think this is a pretty well balanced list. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got some good magic. It's got some good buff pieces. It's got a killy hero there in the Stegodon Chief. It's got something to do with hordes. It's got some mortal wound output from the salamanders. And then, of course, it's always got the Bastillodons shooting over the top, destroying some stuff. And you can get those things buffed up pretty good with the Skink Priests and the Star Priests. And so buff one up to high heavens, and that's the one you're going to double fire. And then the one that you're not double firing, you just spend all out attack on, so that you're getting +1 to attack on both of them. And you're getting 3 activations out of those 2. So that's good. So game 1, he fought up against Fire Slayers in a 2 Magma Droth list. That's interesting. So, I haven't really seen Fire Slayers much in Age of Sigmar 3. So that's interesting. That may have been the only Fire Slayers army at this tournament. But not a bad one to face them on, as they're trying to work their way up towards those middle objectives from their deployment zone. You got game 2, you got a win versus Soulblight. And I looked at that list. It was 60 zombies and 30 Graveguard. So I'm betting he was glad he brought those Kroxigor for that list, because he had a lot of hordes to do. And the good thing about those Kroxigor, if you're throwing those into zombies, your zombies aren't going to get a whole lot of bodies back, because I think the zombies only get bodies back when they kill something. So at max, they're going to get 3 back, something like that, I think. Graveguard are pretty scary, though. So that was a good win against Soulblight, especially when there's only 3 objectives, and they can throw those hordes on those objectives and just bog you down. Game 3, he got a win versus Mega Gargants. That was 3 megas and 3 babies. That's a good win, especially on this objective type where there's only those 4 objectives. Gargants can really put a lot of pressure onto those objectives, especially when there's so few of them. In game 4, he did lose versus another Mega Gargant list of 4 megas. That was the one that came in, what was it, 3rd place? And a good player and 4 megas, it's tough to deal with, especially if you don't get a couple turn priorities and you're looking to shoot those Bastillons, try to wear them down, and then finally take one out. Man, they can come crashing in hard. And then his 5th game was against Lumineth with Gotrek and 30 Sentinels. Ooh, that was nasty. That's a nasty list. So he you know what? I think he may have started off, I don't want to say easy games, because no game is easy. But then he hit like the murderer's row here with Mega Gargants and Gotrek and 30 Sentinels. Whew. So well done, Andrew. Way to play there. If as we're talking through these, if any of you guys end up in the comments in the chat section, let us know what were some highlights from your games, because I think we're all interested. Love looking at lists and tournament results and stuff. So good tournament there for Andrew. Well done. Next list is Elijah Ramos. He also went 4-1, and he has a Fangs of Sotek list. And so he's going to be in Starborn, and we've got Lord Croak as the general. And that may be an odd choice to put him as general, because you can't take that command trait, but it looks like he's taking prize sorcery, so he just wants to keep one of his wizards alive. And so that may help in that you're just counting on Croak being alive the entire game, playing maybe not safe with him, but you're gearing your list towards, I'm keeping him alive to get my grand strategy. Also, I'm never going to let my general die. He also has a Saurus Astrolith Bear, which gives him those +1 to cast, and a ward save in a bubble, extra range on the casting, with the Serpent God Dagger, which you really hope to never get that Saurus Astrolith Banner into combat, but if it does, maybe he can insta-kill something with that Serpent God Dagger. Skink Priest with Amulet of Destiny. So normally you see that amulet on a little bit tougher things, but it'll help keep those plinking wounds off of that priest. Star Priest with Hand of Glory. Oh, we also have a heal prayer on the Skink Priest. So those are your standard buffs. We got some guard to protect Croak, 2 units of 20 skinks. Those are to be buffed up by these priests and just put out a bunch of shots. Your 2 Salamander Hunting Pack, and then 2 Bastiladons. We've got another list with 2 Bastiladons. This one's in Fangs of Sotek. That's pretty interesting. We've also got Burning Head and Soul Snare Shackles. I can't even say that one right. A lot of drops here, but it looks like, I can say from experience, this list has a lot of reach. It's going to be doing a lot of mortals turn 1, and it's going to be doing a lot of shooting onto you turn 1. And those Bastiladons aren't quite as good in Fangs of Sotek as they are in Thunderlizards, but they're still good. You can still buff them up good, and you can still, they still get their normal fires. So they're going to be ultra mobile in Fangs of Sotek. You can teleport them around where needed, so you're never going to be at a loss of targets for them. So cool list there, good list. First game, it was a win versus Daughters of Cain. We got the Morathi and the 10 Bow Snakes. That's kind of one of those meta picks. Not quite as many Bow Snakes as I think is probably optimum. You see mostly 15 Bow Snakes, but 10 Bow Snakes is still nasty. Don't get me wrong there. And especially on this list where Morathi is going to control one objective for sure. You've really got to play to the other 2 objectives to make sure that you can make up for that Morathi. He did lose in game 2 versus Big Wall. I looked at this list. This is Marco Hernandez from the Ever Chosen podcast. If you guys listen to that, or if you don't listen to that, go follow him. It's great. That list had 183 wounds, so it may have just been trying to get through that many wounds. That's a lot of wounds to get through, especially in Age of Sigmar 3 where you can stack up saves and stuff. And that game type only had 3 objectives, so I bet you that one was probably tough to get through all those wounds. You're also probably getting slapped with a Maw Crusher turn 1. I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but I've played against Marco and had that happen to me. So game 3 was a win versus Stormcast Eternal, and I looked at that list. It was mostly the old Vanguard stuff, a lot of Hunters and Paladors and things. And we're still playing with the old Stormcast book in this tournament, and so I think that Stormcast list will probably be a lot better now once we get the new book with the new Vanguard stuff. But good win there. Win versus Nurgle in game 4 and 12 Plague Drones. Man, I haven't seen those on the table in so long. So we got a Plague Drone list. I bet you that was interesting. Game 5, a win versus Seraphon Thunderlizard with a Gotrek, 3 Stegs, and a Bastiladon. That sounds like a list I would like. Okay, yeah. Game 5 was a win versus me. And if you hadn't heard that, go listen to the last video we just did, and you'll see how that game went. It was a fun game. We had a lot of fun in that game 5, but he did pull out the win against fellow Seraphon in that game. All right, let's see. List number 3. This is Patrick Leclerc. He came in 21st. I think his sports and painting and stuff pushed him up a little bit higher once all that came down. So I think he ended up 15th. But this was based on the record. He went 3-2 with a Fangs of Sotek list. We had Lord Croak, Skink Priest, Skink Star Priest, another Skink Star Priest, and an Astrolith Banner Bearer. I think pretty standard loadout there. I don't see anything too. He did put the Astrolith Banner Bearer as his general and put Olden Grizzled on him. So he's going to get some extra command points there. He's going to generate a lot of command points in this list. Potentially 2 from the Star Priests. You're going to get potentially 3 from Croak, and you're going to get 1 probably from the Banner Bearer. So you're going to have a lot of command point generation in this list. I like that. The one problem would be maybe if the Source Astrolith Bearer, if somebody has an ability to just snipe him out, they may just go for your Warlord, and just that's an easy strat that could be scored against you maybe. Battle line, we got 30 skinks. So right on. Lots and lots of shots. Definitely. Another minimum unit of 10 skinks on for your battle line. We have 5 chameleon skinks and Gotrek. I didn't see that. We have Gotrek in this list. So we've got, Croak. You're going to have 120 skink shots coming at you, and then followed up by Gotrek. Nice. And it's 2 drops. Wow. I like this list, man. It went 3-2. I like this list. I would have expected. I mean, it's all based on matchups and stuff and game types, and who knows. That's the fun of GTs, is you never know what's going to happen. But man, I like that list. You've got a strong Gotrek, a strong Croak, backed up by a ton of bodies. So pretty cool. Game 1 was a loss versus OBR. That OBR had 40 Mortek with Archon and Catacross, and I think it had a Harvester, and it had a lot of ways to regenerate those Mortek. And that can be a tough one in these game types where there's only a few objectives. Those Mortek will just go sit on 2 and then say, try to remove me. And if they can pick the one where your Gotrek is not, so if you're putting your Gotrek up the middle and they just go sit on the other 2, then it may be a hard-fought battle. Game 2 was a win versus Stormcast Eternal and Annihilator spam. I saw that this list had 3 units of Annihilators. So that's, there's been a lot of chatter on online about some Annihilator spam, whether that's good or not. So it's nice to see Patrick get a win versus that list. We had a win versus Soulblight Gravelords. This one looked like a Blood Knight spam list. He's getting some of the spam lists here. And it was 5 units of 5 Blood Knights. So pretty crazy there. Lots of cavalry. And they have a good save, and I think they can put out some decent damage. But nice win by Patrick there. Game 4, he had a win versus Korn, and this was a bunch of Bloodthirsters and stuff. This is where you want those Bastillodons in your list. But Gotrek will also deal heavily with Bloodthirsters quite well. But the great thing is, I walked over to this table and I was hearing some chatter, and his Skink Star Priest up here with the Serpent God Dagger, which you have to take in Fangs and Sotek, he got into combat with a Bloodthirster and put a Bloodthirster in that Serpent God Dagger. So, like, if you do any damage with it on a 5-up, you just insta-kill whatever model you're up against. And so he insta-killed a Bloodthirster with a Skink Star Priest. That's awesome. No matter what else happens the rest of the tournament, that's one of those memories you have forever. Game 5, it was a loss versus Lumineth, which was Techless and 30 Sentinels. So Techless is gonna give you a run for your money against Croak in this list in the Magic phase, and 30 Sentinels will actually, that'll kill Gotrek. It may not one shot him, but it'll kill him over the course of 2-3 turns. It'll take out Gotrek pretty easy. So lots of shots from far away doing mortals. That's one way to get them. So Patrick went 3-2. Good showing there for Fangs of Sotek and Gotrek. My list here, so I also went 3-2. I came in 25th total out of something like 80 people. So not quite as good as I'd hoped for. I was wanting to at least get one more win, but couldn't squeak it out. I did take Thunderlizards. We talked over this list quite a bit in the previous video. Engine of the Gods with Prime Warbeast, Amulet of Destiny, just trying to keep that Engine of the Gods alive as long as I can. Star Priest with Hand of Glory and Fusel. Skink Priest with the Prayer of Guidance to try to help me get extra command points. I've got the Gotrek to slap around some people with. My 30 Warriors with clubs. 2 Stegodons and a Bastillodon. I was pretty high drop, but felt like I had a good horde, a good melee piece, and some monsters to do some damage. So the only thing I really lacked was a lot of mobility, and it did kind of end up hurt me a little bit. First game was a win versus Koatl's Claw. I did play Ben Riddle, which we'll get to his list here in a minute. He had 4 Carnosaurs and 60 Warriors. I'd love to see that. That's awesome. A lot of fun. We smashed those up here in the middle objectives. My second game was a loss to Daughters of Cain against Gavin, who ended up winning the tournament. He had the standard Marathi and 15 bow snakes. My third game was a win versus Slanesh, which was like Glutos and Bellicor and Kairos and there were some other heroes. Lots of heroes there, lots of magic, which I couldn't do anything against his magic because I only had one wizard, and that wizard got insta-killed turn 1. So he had free reign of magic, which really shut some of my stuff down, but did end up getting a win out of that one with actually some good movement from the Stegodons, able to sneak out into his objective, and then Gotrek taking some stuff out, and Bastillodon killing off Bellicor and Kairos. That was a great one. Fourth game was a win versus Mega Gargants. That was 2 megas and 6 babies. And that one came down to the wire too. It was a close one, but was able to pull that one out. Game 5, I did lose versus Fangs of Sotek. That was Elijah's Fangs of Sotek list. Croak, 40 Skinks, 2 Bastiladons. That one also was a close one, but he ended up pulling out the win there with all those objectives. I just couldn't match him for movement and definitely for casting. He had me on the casting there. So went 3-2, had a lot of fun, and that's the most important thing, right? All right, our 5th list is Spencer Miller. He also took a Fangs of Sotek list. Prize sorcery to keep one of his wizards alive. And I'm guessing he was trying to keep this Troglodon alive the whole time. Well, or I guess Lord Croak. Either one of those are going to be hard to kill in this list. Because the Skink Oracle on Troglodon does have the Amulet of Destiny. And so that means that Troglodon, it doesn't have a great base save. It's a 4-up save, but it has that 5-up ward save. And then in its hero phase, it's going to heal D3 just naturally. You're probably going to do a heroic recovery to heal another D3 since it's got good bravery and Fangs of Sotek. And then you can always heal from Croak anywhere on the board. And so there's some good ways to heal that Troglodon up. So it makes him tough to kill, and you're going to be doing a lot of damage through him as you're pushing all of Lord Croak's spells through that Troglodon. Skink Priest, Skink Star Priest, pretty standard there. Astral Bear, Banner Bear, also pretty standard for a Croak build. We've got 5 Source Guard, 20 Skinks, 10 Chameleon Skinks, and 2 Razordons. Also has Soul Schnackles and the Burning Head. I like both of those spells a lot. Shackles will really shut down people from being able to charge into you, and Burning Head is a great spell to push through Croak and the Banner Bear. You can get extra range, and now you'll be able to push that through the Troglodon, and so you can hit that Burning Head just about anywhere you want on the board for a good D3 mortal wounds to whatever it's going to hit, and it's never going to come back to bite you, so that's kind of nice. So I like that list. It's a good list. I think, Spencer, if you're here watching this, let us know how the Troglodon did. I always want to take the Troglodon, but I struggle with the price point. I think it really needs a little bit of a drop to make it viable. But let me know how it went, because maybe it's you can give us some lessons. Game 1, he had a loss versus Mega Gargants, 3 megas and 2 babies. This is a tough one, especially on this objective where there's only three objectives, and he's got a lot of beef to put on it. And there's not really a lot of melee punch in this army, it doesn't look like. He's going to be very, very active in the hero phase, but just not enough spells to really take down a Mega Gargant. Not enough damage dealing spells to take one down. Maybe if he could have gotten real low drops, he could have put those shackles out and locked them down a little bit to keep them from moving too fast. But it's probably just a lack of damage dealing. Game 2, that he got a win versus Skaven. This list was crazy. It was a giant rat spam. So he had 15 units of giant rats. Which is pretty crazy. It would probably be an okay list on something like if you're down here with one with a whole bunch of objectives, but when there's only 3 objectives, you're just going to flood it with these giant rats. I don't know. I bet you it was a pretty crazy looking board, though. 15 units of giant rats. I think he had rat ogres, and it was insane. So pretty cool win there for Spencer against the rats, the giant rats. Game 3, lost to a Soulblight Gravelord. I was looking at that. This is a real good player. He was a top 10 player, and kind of a balanced list of Soulblight. A little bit of everything to play in all phases of the game. Game 4 was lost to Daughters of Cain. Your standard Marathi, 15 bow snakes. That list you got to be prepared for it. It's going to be at tournaments for a little while. And Game 5 was a loss to Ogre Maw Tribes. This one looked like it had some beef as well. Kragnos, 2 Stonehorns. And so he had some nasty melee to face there on that one. I wonder how this game played out, because I don't think that Ogre Maw Tribes had a lot of models, but they counted so many on objectives. They're able to hold the objectives they do have, and then when they need to, they can get across the board and punch you in the face. Especially with Kragnos and some Stonehorns, those things have a lot more melee than probably what this list is handled for. So, yeah, Spencer, let us know if there's something you'd change your list or any epic stories you had here. It looks like you faced some pretty tough melee matchups there. All right, on to the last list here, and this was Ben Riddles. This was the Koatl's Claw, and he's bringing the Carnosaurs. I love this list. Unfortunately, it only went 1-4 on the tournament. It made I think Koatl's Claw is struggling a little bit, but this is a heck of a lot of fun to play. I bet because he's got 4 Carnosaurs in the list, all Scar veterans. Obviously, they're the cheaper ones, and I don't think there's really any reason to take the old blood for like 60 points more. Let's see, Artifacts, Blade of Realities, Eviscerating Blade. We got Dominant Predator. So those are all kind of your standards for your Carnosaurs. I didn't see, an Amulet of Destiny or anything on. Neither one of them have Amulet of Destiny. I think I would have taken that one just to maybe help one of those Carnosaurs survive a little bit longer. He's pushing all of his artifacts towards these damage dealing, and these Carnosaurs can be kind of paper thin when damage gets into them. So it would have been nice to have one with an amulet, maybe. Command trait, Dominant Predator. Yep, that goes onto that one to help you get extra command points. Star Priest, both with Hand of Glories. Those guys are going to buff up your warriors there, your big blocks of warriors, and a couple units of knights. And his grand strategy is hold the line. So he's either going to keep... these warriors are probably going to stay alive. It's going to be hard to kill off 60 warriors at -1 damage. But if not, you can just always run off one Saurus Knight somewhere to keep them safe if you don't need them for that game type. So the first game was a loss versus Seraphon Thunderlizards. That was Gotrek and 3 Stegodons and Bastiladons. That was against me. If you haven't seen that one, it's in the last video as well. And I think this game type really played well towards me because I sent all my monsters onto one objective and then my Gotrek to the middle. And it was like, you're going to have to face one of those, and Gotrek could deal with a lot. And so that was his first time against Gotrek. So got some good practice against Gotrek, which then he got to face this list. He got a win in game 2 versus Daughters of Cain, which had a Marathi, Gotrek, and 15 bow snakes. Oh, that list sounds terrible. Man, Ben, we need to hear about this list, about that win, because that is awesome. Because I'm pretty sure I would not have won that game versus Marathi, Gotrek, and 15 bow snakes, because that is a disgusting list, especially when there's 3 objectives. If he sends Marathi to one, Gotrek to another, and then his bow snakes to kill whatever you got on the other one. Oh, gosh, that's just great win there. I'm guessing you just swamped those objectives and held on for dear life with all the bodies you got there. Pretty awesome. Let us know how that happened, because that is an awesome win. Game 3 is a loss versus Feck with 2 Terrorgeists and 6 Crypt Flayers. This list right here, they're just... The Koatl's Claw list is a melee list, and those Terrorgeists are just absolute... They are a terror. And they're a terror in melee. So, you've got... I think the Feck is just going to out melee your Carnosaurs and stuff, just because they can do so many mortal wounds in melee. So, still a decent list there. Loss versus Idoneth Deepkin, which is like your eels and your turtles and your sharks. I think he had 2 sharks, a turtle, and maybe like 6 eels. So a pretty good balanced Idoneth Deepkin list. And on a game type with 5 objectives, they got a lot of mobility. And that turtle is going to make it so hard for all of our -1 rend to actually get through stuff, because that turtle buffs everybody. That turtle is incredibly tough. Unless you have a lot of mortals, that you're not going to kill that turtle. And so, I don't know if he got a Star Priest sniped off or just didn't get the chance to attack first, but that turtle is going to be tough to take down with a Koatl's Claw list. Game 5 was a loss versus Legions of the First Princess, your Be'lakor, your Kairos, your Demon Prince. They're just going to absolutely dominate the magic phase, especially when you only got two small Star Priests. And so I'm betting they were able to shut down a lot of stuff in the magic phase. And with 6 objectives, that's it's gonna be hard with Koatl's Claw. Are you gonna push your warriors forward and leave your back end exposed? But I think you have to, because you gotta start attacking their objective. Maybe leave the knights back home, send all the Carnosaurs onto one objective type of thing. But a loss there for Legion against Legion of the First Prince. So Ben Riddle being the hero, taking Koatl's Claw. You don't see a lot of Koatl's Claw out there, but he took him and had a lot of fun there at the GT. So, in conclusion, I think, Seraphon did pretty well at the tournament. We had some high finishes, and it was kind of spread out. We had a couple of Fangs of Sotek lists, a couple Thunderlizard lists, and a Koatl's Claw list. I think they all kind of, that they, well, I don't want to say they all placed where expected. I think, the traditional idea is that Fangs of Sotek is a little bit stronger, but I think Thunderlizards is pushing that into a more balanced list. I think Koatl's Claw is still probably our weakest sub faction at the moment. Nobody was playing Dracothian's Tail. I think it's hard to play Dracothian's Tail in a highly competitive environment like this, where you've got to get first drop, and if you don't, you're going to get smashed hard with some of these lists. And so you don't really have enough time to start building up those summoning pools. So you got to go low drops, and then you got to get that summoning started quick. And unfortunately, like Dracothian's Tail sometimes just doesn't quite have the punch to take out some of these big threats if you're going for a summoning heavy list. Now, some of the other things where you're just teleporting in whatever it is you're damage dealing can still have a lot of play, I think. But I was looking over what we faced, and against the top, kind of meta armies, which is like Daughters of Cain and Mega Gargants and Lumineth Realm Lords, between all of us, we really split pretty evenly. Daughters of Cain, we had 4 matches against, and 2 wins, 2 losses. Megas, we had 2 wins, 2 losses. Lumineth, we had 1 win, 1 loss. And so I didn't really see anything that was really skewing hard to all of us are losing to one thing or all of us are winning against one army. Now, granted, this is a pretty small sample size. This is just 5 games, 1 tournament. But we did have, 80 players here. So good stuff, though. Let us know if you were at this tournament and we're playing one of these Seraphon players or we're playing against them. Let us know if something happened. I wish I was there at the table when that Bloodthirster got sucked into Patrick's Skink Star Priest dagger. That was awesome. So always a fun time. Great to see some fun Seraphon players out there, and I got to play 2 of them, and so that was pretty rare. None of the other Seraphon players faced off against Seraphon other than me and Ben and me and Elijah, and so and I guess it turned out about where we thought. I lost to Fangs, but I beat Koatl's, and I was playing Thunderlizards. So Thunderlizards there in the middle, Fangs on top, and Koatl's down below. So. All right, had a lot of fun, guys. Hopefully that was of some value, looking at some lists from the tournament and what they played them on, and how it all went down. So check back in later for more Seraphon content, I'm sure. All right, see you guys later.